Welcome! Today, we are going to build a practical, hands-on toolkit, and it has just one clear goal: to give you some really effective strategies for managing a mind that just refuses to switch off.
So, does this feel familiar? That feeling that your mind is just running and running, replaying the same thoughts, fixating on some worry, but you're getting absolutely nowhere? It's a super common experience, and believe me, it has a name: racing thoughts. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll figure out what this problem actually is. Then, we'll look at why it matters so much. After that, we're going to stock our toolkit with 3 really powerful tools. And finally, we'll go over the user manual. You know, how to know when it's time to call on a pro.
Okay, first up, the blueprint. Because, let's be real, to fix any problem, you have to understand exactly what you're up against in the first place.
This metaphor is just perfect. Experts at Harvard Health say racing thoughts can feel just like a pinball machine inside your head. Your thoughts are just bouncing chaotically from one thing to the next, maybe from a conversation you had yesterday to some made-up disaster scenario in the future. It makes it pretty much impossible to focus on anything.
And this leads us to a related idea: rumination. This is when you're stuck on that mental hamster wheel we talked about, just replaying one single thought loop over and over and over. The rocking chair analogy is brilliant, isn't it? It feels like you're doing something, but it's just a lot of motion without any actual progress. It doesn't solve a thing.
And listen, if you experience this, you are definitely not alone. It can be triggered by all sorts of things we deal with every single day, from major stress to just being overstimulated by the news and social media, or even a simple lack of sleep. Sometimes it's deeper stuff, like unresolved emotions.
So, why is it so important to get a handle on this? What's the big deal? Well, let's dive into the hidden costs of letting these thought patterns just run wild. First and foremost, sleep. Of course, right? Rumination and racing thoughts just love to show up the second your head hits the pillow. They get in the way of you relaxing and falling asleep, and they steal that deep, restorative rest that your brain and body are desperate for.
And there's a biological cost too. This constant mental churn can actually keep your body flooded with stress hormones like cortisol. And over time, that constant on switch for your stress response can lead to a whole bunch of other health issues.
Now, here's one you might not expect. Research actually shows that people who can't mentally log off from their problems, the ones who ruminate instead of actively trying to solve them, they tend to be less creative. It kind of makes sense, right? Your brain just doesn't have the free space to come up with new ideas.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. It's time to start building our toolkit. And our very first tool is all about one thing: pulling your mind out of the past or the future and planting it right here, right now, in the present.
This is the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method. And let me tell you, it's an incredibly powerful trick to use when your mind starts to spiral. It's so simple. You just deliberately engage your senses. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can physically touch, 3 things you can hear, and you keep going. It forces your brain to stop its looping and actually focus on the present moment. It's like hitting a circuit breaker on your racing thoughts.
Another really simple way to find the present is through your breath. And I'm not talking about that shallow chest breathing we do when we're stressed. I mean deep belly breathing. This technique actually activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That's your body's built-in rest and digest mode. It's a physical signal to your entire body that it's okay. It's safe to calm down.
Okay, on to tool number 2. Now, this one is less about stopping your worries cold and more about, managing them. It's about setting some boundaries so they don't get to run your entire day.
So here's the key difference. Have you ever tried to not think about a pink elephant? It's impossible, right? It almost always backfires. That's thought suppression. A much better strategy is to schedule a specific time to worry. You're not ignoring the thought. You're actually acknowledging it and telling your brain, hey, I hear you. We'll deal with this later on my schedule. It puts you back in control.
And here's exactly how you do it. Block out 15 or 20 minutes in your calendar. That's it. When a worry pops into your head outside of that time, just jot it down and tell yourself you'll get to it later. Then, during your worry time, you can let it all out. Think about it, write about it, whatever. But, and this is the most important part, when that timer goes off, you move on.
Let's grab our third and final tool from the toolkit. This one is all about changing your relationship with your thoughts in a pretty fundamental way.
So there's this concept from therapy called thought diffusion. The goal here isn't to fight with your thoughts or make them go away. The goal is just to see them for what they are, just thoughts, words and images in your head.
It's about getting unstuck from the story they're telling you and just observing the process of thinking itself.
I love this metaphor because it's so relatable. Just imagine your racing thoughts are like 100 open browser tabs on your computer, all playing sound, all demanding your attention. Diffusion is like calmly going through and clicking the little X on each one, watching it disappear, and clearing off your mental desktop.
Here's another really powerful technique you can try. It's called zooming out. When a thought feels like it's taking over everything, just visualize yourself floating up above your house, above your city, until you're looking down on the entire Earth from space. Now, from that incredible perspective, how big does that one single worry really seem? It's all about creating distance and getting some perspective.
And finally, every good toolkit needs a user manual, right? And maybe the most important part of this manual is knowing when these self-help tools just aren't cutting it, and it's time to call in a professional.
So here's the bottom line. If your racing thoughts are consistently messing up your life or your sleep, if they feel totally out of control even after trying these strategies, or if you have a feeling they might be linked to something like anxiety or depression, it is absolutely time to talk to a professional. And therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, are incredibly effective for this. They can give you targeted, evidence-based strategies to help you get back in the driver's seat.
You know, we've built a pretty solid toolkit today. We learned how to ground ourselves in the present, how to contain our worries, and how to shift our perspective. So really, the only question left is, what's the first tool you're going to try?